Today we're going to be taking a look at Rolling Heights. This is a 1 to 4 player meeple rolling tile placement game. Now let's take a look at the components. The scoreboard. Around the outside of the scoreboard you have the victory point track. In the middle of the scoreboard you have the effects of each meeple. And on the right side you have places for your add tiles. Neighborhood boards. These consist of squares. There is a cube cost in some of the center of the squares. And around the square you have a victory point condition if you place the matching type of tile. Market strips. On these strips you have a cost for the market tiles that will be placed under the strips. Start player token. Building plan tiles. On the tile you have the type of tile, name, construction, the number and type of cubes, the reward, and any effects. Wild tokens, cubes, clear or glass, blue or steel, brown or wood, gray or concrete, and orange is when you run out of a color. Target tiles, these are player goals for the end of the game. Add tiles, these are goals scored at the end of the game. Meeples, clear, gray, blue, purple, yellow, brown, green, magenta, and pink. Player box, you have a player token, ownership markers, and finally we have your rule book. Now let's take a look at the setup. We're going to be setting this up for a 3-player game which takes 12 steps. Step 1, select the neighborhood boards based on the number of players. For this 3-player game, we will place 4A and 2B. Step 2, arrange the boards in a 2x3 grid in the center of the play area. Step 3, place the scoreboard next to the map. Step 4, place the 2 market strips along the sides of the map. Step 5, place and draw building tiles. Shuffle the building tiles based on their levels, and then place the stack face down and draw 9 to go along the market. Step 6, place cubes. Sort the cubes by color, place them next to the map boards, and remove a number of cubes based on the number of players. So in this 3-player game, we'll remove 13 of each. Step 7, sort and place meeple supply pools. Step 8, place wild token pool next to the main boards. Step 9, shuffle and draw 3 add tiles and place them on their corresponding space on the scoreboard. Step 10, deal 2 target tiles randomly to each player. Keep in mind that only one will score at the end of the game. Step 11, get player components. Choose a color and get the corresponding player token ownership markers, and then get 2 carpenters, 2 construction meeples, and a box. These would be your brown and gray meeples. You'll place those in the box and place your marker on 0 on the victory point track. Step 12, get starting locations. Determine the start player, and in reverse turn order, players select a level 1 tile from the market and place it on a free space on the map. It has to be greater than or equal to 2 orthogonal spaces away from another player. You would also get the victory points if it is an applicable match to the type of tile. After all have selected, then you would refresh the market by sliding it down and refilling. Now let's take a look at the gameplay. The game consists of a number of player turns until a color of cubes runs out. Then the round is finished and you will play one more round. A player's turn. A player's turn consists of 4 phases: prep, risk, main, and cleanup. Now let's look at each phase in detail. Phase 1, the prep phase. You will roll your meeples in your box. You will roll up to 10 of your meeples. If the meeple is standing up, it is working hard. If it is on its side, it is working steady. And if it is flat, it is exhausted. After you roll, you would take out the working hard and working steady meeples, and if more than half are exhausted, you would take and re-roll the meeples until at least half are out of your box. Then we move to phase 2, risk. You will choose whether to stop rolling or press your luck and roll your exhausted meeples again. If all of the meeples are exhausted, you would bust, and if at least one is working, you would stop or keep risking. Keep in mind that if you bust, you would lose half of your working meeples rounded down. They would go back to your box and you would get a wild token. Once you finish the risk phase, we move to phase 3, the main phase. You would perform any of the main actions and in any order. There are 6 main actions. The first action, activate your meeples. Gain the rewards based on the meeples that are working. The gray or construction worker would gain concrete, brown or carpenter would gain wood, blue or riveter would gain steel, clear or architect would gain glass, executive or magenta would gain cube payments, purple or public figures would activate a building's ability, yellow or politicians would gain victory points, pink or city planner would get to re-roll or get a building plan, green or public servant would get upgrades. The second action, buy and place 1 new building plan. You pay the cost above the plan to buy and then place it on the map. If it is a space that has cubes, you would have to pay that cost as well. Then you would get the victory points if applicable. And you would also place an ownership token on that tile as well. Keep in mind that it must be next to your tiles, or you'd pay 1 extra cube per orthogonal space to one of your tiles. Also, if you cannot pay to buy and place, then you cannot buy the tile. The third action, use wild tokens for a cube or victory point. The fourth, trade cubes. You can trade 2-to-1 for wood, concrete, and glass, or 3-to-1 for steel. The fifth type of action, construct buildings. You would place cubes from your supply on your buildings matching the color. Keep in mind that these are never removed. And the sixth type of action is complete buildings. Once all of the buildings are built, you would put your ownership token at the top of one of the buildings, get the victory point, and meeples or rewards. And once you're done with your main actions, you would move to phase 4, cleanup. You would slide down and refill building plans. If a building that you purchased was not one of the first 2 buildings, you would also put a wild token on the ones that you did not choose. This is listed on the market strip. Then you would gather your meeples and return your cubes to the supply. And then it would become the next player's turn. And then player turns would continue until a color of cube runs out. Then we would finish that round and one final round using orange to fill in for those cubes. Once we finish the final round, we go to the final scoring. The final scoring takes 3 steps. Step 1, score the add tiles. Step 2, each player chooses a target to score. And then step number 3, score 1 victory point for each wild token. Once all the players have tallied their score, the player with the most victory points is the most successful general contractor and wins Rolling Heights.